Hello everyone, I would like to start this video by quoting Shiv Khera here. Winners don't do differently, they do it differently. With this objective, we are here to bring forth the winning stroke for success in NET JRF exams. PsychKindle makes your dream come true. PsychKindle brings you the winning edge. Okay, before discussing all the details of the exam, it's very necessary to know about the basic information of the exam. Coming to UGC NET or JRF, the basic questions which are needed to be covered are here sorted into 4 W's. Who, when, what and why, which you can see on your screen now. The first question is who. Who would be able to give UGC NET JRF exam? The answer is those who have master's degree in respective subject from a well UGC recognized university with minimum marks of 55% are eligible to appear for the exam. The second question is when. When you can give UGC NET or JRF exam. After your second semester of masters, you will be eligible for the exam which would be counted as appearing. To make it more clear, you can give as many attempts as there is no age limit. But this no age limit condition is with NET only. For JRF, it is 30 years. The third W needed to be answered is what. According to our survey, we have seen many people don't know what is difference between NET and JRF. NET is National Eligibility Test and JRF is Junior Research Fellowship. Out of the total people who gave exams in a subject, say psychology, the top 6% are qualified for NET, and out of that top 6%, approximately 0.6% of those NET qualified are declared as JRF. The fourth W is why. That why it is so needed to give or qualify your UGC NET JRF exam. Telling you honestly, it is like a lifetime reward if you want to go for higher educational programs. It is a minimum eligibility for getting enrolled in PhD and it brings you on the priority list in the MPhil. And in many government jobs, it is considered as qualified in written exam and you need to only give your interviews like in DRDOs. Third is about how. This will be unique plan of the aspirants with a definite strategy of their own. Because once you get into the preparation, you understand what are the frequencies that match with your own capabilities, and also, as I said, this is kind of award to you. So once you are qualified, you need to prove it at every point. So having your strategy will definitely be easier for you. We will be providing you just the outline under which you can think in your own way. The first one is about the understanding the complete pattern of the exam. Second is a strong focus on the syllabus of both the papers. And the third is about making your own strategy and trying to implement it. We'll be discussing each topic in separate slides later, but you need to understand here is all the above points in this question, how section are directly correlated to each other. Understanding the pattern. This is totally about making minute observations on two things. First, exam, and second, on yourself. We will tell you how to do this. Coming on first, that is exam section. For this, you need to understand about the structure of exam, about the pattern of exam, that's how the questions are being asked. Let's focus on that. In paper 1, general paper on teaching and research aptitude, there are 50 questions of 2 marks each and it is total of 100 marks. Second paper is your respective subject, that is psychology, and from that there are 100 questions with 2 marks each and it equals 200 marks. This means that there are in total 150 questions and total 300 marks, and also there is no negative marking in any of the papers. Earlier 30-minute break was being given between both the papers, but now it is like in the continuation, So you have this exam of 3 hours. Now the second point about observations on yourself. From exam point of view, you can look more insightfully into yourself by giving a test, which will help you to analyze and evaluate yourself in a more detailed way. What kind of questions you like, what seems to be difficult for you, which section you like most, how much time you take, and all. These things need to be understood by you, the pattern and all, in a more minute way. Okay, the second is the focus on the syllabus. So try to cover the complete syllabus of both the papers from first alphabet to last point. I have put here a screenshot of syllabus which you can download from official website of National Testing Agency NTA. So coming to paper 1, you have teaching aptitude, which includes teaching the concept, objectives and the levels of teaching, about the learner's characteristics, about the factors affecting the teaching process, about the methods of teaching, that online method, offline methods, and the new methods being introduced now, and also the about the evaluation systems, that how the papers are being evaluated in higher education programs. The second part is research aptitude, which means which has its topic as research, its meaning, types, and characteristics, about the positivistic and post-positivistic approach, and also about the methods of research and the steps of research, what are the ethics in research, how the ICT is being used in the research, and also about how to write thesis and articles, about the format and its style. The third part is about the comprehension. A passage will be given here and you have to answer from that passage. There will be 5 questions and the questions are from easy to moderate and it is easily answered from that. The fourth part is communication, which has meaning, types and characteristics of communication, what are the barriers for effective communication, about the mass media and society. Unit 5 is about the mathematical reasoning and aptitude. In this you have number series, letter series, types of reasoning, and mathematical aptitude, which are related from percentage, profit and loss. The basic mathematics are there about the codes and the relationships and all. The next part is about logical reasoning, in which you will be having about the arguments and analogies and Venn diagrams, about the Indian logic in the sense of pramanas. It's very interesting topic. And also the next is data interpretation, which generally it is very easy and it is also from easy to moderate sometimes, and the data is being related with the governance or the normal data from like pie chart or the histograms, bar chart, table chart. The syllabus is easily given here and it is definitely from these portions only. And 8th unit is about information and communication technology, total section of computer. General computer terms are coming in this, and general abbreviations about it, the full forms and all. And 2 to 3 questions are definitely each year in the net exam. And generally questions are seen from email sections and also from the parts of computer and all. The next unit is about people development and environment, and the last unit is higher education system. These two units are very important and these two units are always new to you. It will seem new to you every time because every session has something new to include in these two. Whatever new policies come, whatever new theories exist in the world at that time, these are being asked in these two units very frequently. Like people development and environment, you have about the environmental issues and about the pollutants on human health, about the energy resources, and also about the protection acts, environmental protection acts. The last unit is about higher education system. The things given here definitely comes and also from the ancient university or the now NIRF rankings. These sections are frequently asked in the section higher education system. One more thing needed to be answered here is that 5 questions carrying 2 marks each are asked from all the 10 units given here, and it's generally seen that obviously the 5 questions come from each section, and in paper 2 it's not defined, but there also 10 questions from each section are thought to come. So coming to paper 2 of UGC and LGRF, it is paper of psychology, and here I'll be discussing you minutely about the units in the syllabus so that you can get a brief idea about the syllabus of psychology. You can download the syllabus from the official website of NTA. The first unit is about the emergence of psychology, in which you have to study about the emerging psychology in two aspects, that is Eastern and the Western. In Eastern, you can study about the Bhagavad Gita, Buddhism, Sufism, integral yoga, about the pre-independence era, about the post-independence era, and also about the academic issues here in the emergence of Indian psychology. Now, in the Western aspect, we have to study about the Greek heritage, medieval period, modern period, and about the schools of psychology, and about the crisis in psychology due to experimental or due to paradigms. Further, in this only you have to study about the knowledge paradigms like positivism, post-positivism, constructivism, and many more. Secondly, you have to study about the research methodology and statistics, and it is a very wide area. You need to cover about this in a more detailed way, as this section covers almost 15 to 20 questions every year from the psychology paper. In this, you have to study about the basic research processes, that is meaning, purpose, dimensions, about the variables, about the definitions, about the new research methods, about hypothesis, sampling, ethics in conducting and reporting the researches, and in statistics, you have to study about the parametric, about the non-parametric studies, about the correlations, about the further factor analysis, regression, and also about the designs like ANOVA, repeated measures, MANOVA, ANCOVA, and many more. Coming to next portion, that is unit 3, that is psychological testing. You have to study here about the types of tests, test construction, about the item writing, item analysis, about the standardization of tests, reliability, validity, and norms, and also about the applications of psychological tests in various settings like in the clinical, organizational, education, military, career, guidance, and many more. And two questions most of the times it has been seen from the attitude scales also, that is semantic, differential, Stepper's, Likert scale, and many thing else. So this portion is also very important. And coming to the next portion, that is biological basis of behavior. Here you have to study about the neurons, about the sensory systems, about the receptors and the processes. And in neurons, you have to study about the transmissions, about the functions, about the transmitters, and new things getting involved in brain in physiological psychology, like methods, like the muscular and glandular systems, about the genetics, about the behavior, and twins studies and adoption studies also. Coming to the next topic, that is attention perception, that would be discussed in the next slide because it will be given in a more clear way there. So we'll discuss into next slide. So here you are seeing that attention, perception, learning, memory, and forgetting, all the four processes are there, 4 to 5, and all are cognitive processes. And it seems that it is being compiled into a shorter unit, but it is a very wide topic, and you have to focus on each and every point in this topic. So coming to attention, you have to focus on the forms of attention, about the models of attention, especially on the signal detection theories, about its assumptions, about the subliminal perception, about the processing approach to perception, and these things. Perception, you have to study about the Gestalt laws, Gestalt approaches, about the perceptual organization, constancy, about the perception of form, depth, and movement, about the role of motivation and learning in perception. Next is learning processes. In this you have to study about the fundamental theories, about the conditioning, about the instrumental learning, about modeling, about reinforcement, and also about the cognitive approaches in learning process. Next is about the memory and forgetting. And memory, both you have to study about the processes of memory and forgetting. And in memory, you have to study about the types of memory, and in forgetting, you have to study about theories of forgetting, that is interference, retrieval, failure, decay, motivation. Next is about thinking intelligence and creativity. Thinking intelligence and creativity, in this also you have to study about the theories related to it. In thinking, you need to discuss about the associationism, gestalt information processing, about the concept formation, reasoning, and these things, and also about the problem solving, decision making, about the metacognition and all. In intelligence, you have to study about the theories related to intelligence, and creativity also you have to study about the theories related to, like Torrance theory, Guilford, and the most important one question is always being asked here, that is about the relationship between intelligence and creativity. Either it will be given in a newer way, that is introduction of a new concept, or you are given with an assertion and reason, like true or false kind of. So this portion is important, that you need to specify the relationship between intelligence and creativity. Next is about the personality, motivation, emotion, stress, and coping. It is like very much selected, not in a very detailed way, but it is selected to the topics given here only. In personality, you have to study about the determinants of personality and some of the approaches to study personality, and some of the theories like Kohlberg's theory, Rotter's theory. These theories you need to study. In motivation, you have to study about the basic concepts of motivation, about the approaches of motivation, and in emotions, you have to study about the theories related to emotion and the physiological correlates. Often a question is being asked in emotion, that is about the positive emotion or negative emotion or the basic six emotions, how they are related to your brain parts, which emotion is being related to your brain parts. Such kind of questions are being asked. About the conflicts, coming to stress and coping, the basic questions which are being asked are about the conflicts, about the concept, about the models, about the personality types which are mostly influenced during stress, about the stress management strategies, about the relaxation techniques which can be followed. Now to the next is social psychology. It For this I will tell you that you can follow the book of Barron, and if you will study complete Barron book, the complete syllabus here given will be covered, and it is a very good book. You can study from there. You can notice each and every concept, and obviously 6 to 7 questions from social psychology are obviously there in the NET exam. So in this also you have to study about the theoretical perspectives, about the nature of social psychology, and about the social perception, about the attitude, about the social influence, about the group. And one question is obviously asked every time, that is from conformity or from compliance or from obedience. And also about the new thing is being introduced now about the applied social psychology, that social psychology is being applied in how it is being applied in health, environment, law, personal space, crowding, and anything else. So you need to focus on these things, and the syllabus will be covered from the book Barron. Next topic to be covered is about the human development and interventions, and this is very interesting topic, and obviously again 5 to 6 questions are being asked from every year from this, and it has developmental processes, about the nature, principles, what are the factors in development, stages of development, about the aging, and theories of development like psychoanalytic, behavioristic, cognitive, and sensory motor, cognitive, language, anything else. And you have to study about the psychopathology in this only, the clinical thing, about the concept of psychopathology, about the mental status examination, some of the psychotherapies which are being mentioned. You have to study about these also, from like psychoanalysis, person-centered, gestalt, existential, art therapy, family therapy, dialectic behavior therapy, and all. And you have to study about the application of these theories of motivation and learning in school factors in educational achievement, teacher effectiveness, in the guidance, in the needs, organizational setup and techniques and all. And you have to minutely study about the counseling, not in a very detailed way. Question may be asked or it is not being asked, but why to take risk in that also? But you have to study about counseling process, skills and techniques. One or two questions are asked sometimes from this part. The 10th unit, which is emerging areas, it is being newly added in the syllabus of psychology. In this, you have to study five major things about. The first is about the issues of gender, about the poverty, about the social suffering, child abuse, migration, bias, domestic violence and all. Second is about the peace psychology, about the violence, non-violence and conflict resolution at macro level and role of media in that. And third is about the well-being and self-growth, about the hedonic and eudaimonic. It is related to the positive psychology probably. And the next is health. It is related to health psychology, that health promoting and compromising behaviors. And about the diabetes, hypertension, coronary heart diseases and cancer, HIV, about the terminal illness. And the last is about the psychology and technology interface, which are most common things. So it has been seen taking that viewpoint. It is being added into our syllabus also. It has about the digital learning, about the digital etiquette, about the cyberbullying, porn usage, and its consumption, and what are the effects of those on mental health. So this was the syllabus which I have explained you in a very brief way to you. You can understand from them, and you need to make yourself clear that each and every unit of paper theory is important, and we are not saying you that 10 questions from each portion would be coming, will be equally divided, but it is being like it varies from each session of that exam. It varies in each session, and but the most important is that you have to focus on the research part, as it 15 to 20 questions are definitely coming from research part, and one paragraph is obviously from the research area, and second maybe it would be from the research only, or it can be from the testing, or it can be from the biological basis of behavior, or it can be from related to your development. So it can be related to anything or can be related to attitude scales. So you need to make yourself clear about each and every topic of the psychology syllabus. So coming to the next topic, it is about your strategy. In this we will be again giving you points to fill it with your plans, thoughts and ideas in it. We all are different and we all have our own special way to deal with things in front of us. The 4 points which need to be taken care of are: the first is about your plan, about the complete process of your preparation. In this, you need to think about which paper to start with, which section to be given more time, to decide the process of your preparation, and that is starting from the topic you like and the difficult one. Okay, so coming to the second point, it is about the time management. Time management is very important and it is the key to every success, and so here too you need to understand about how much time you are going to give to a particular topic. Suppose if you are good at research, you may finish it within a week, or if you are bad at research, you may take 15 days. It would be totally your way to think about. And also you need to plan about your hours of study. So you are investing per day for UGC NET JRF in a consistent way. Coming to the third point, that is how to work on your strengths and weaknesses. When you have evaluated yourself, so here is your call how to work on your weaknesses, that is the things which seems somehow difficult to you, and also maintaining your consistency by continuously working on your strength. And this all is possible through your practices. So practice mock tests or previous year papers, get into its practice, and also there are many questions randomly available from each and every sections or topics of the syllabus. Here I would like to tell you, which I have not mentioned here because I don't think that it is much important for planning your strategy. So I would like to tell you about the cutoff. I am, and it differs, but I'll tell you the range of both NET and JRF. For general category, NET has its range as 55 to 57%, and for JRF it is 62 to 65%, decreasing by 1 to 2% in all the categories. Qualification range varies each year in each session. So don't focus on so much on your cutoffs to plan your strategy. Just have an idea about it. Okay, the cutoff is this much. Now, a question may arise about from where to study. There is no definite book, not a proper single book that you are going to cover your complete NET JRF syllabus from that complete book. So, but for the basic idea, I would like to tell you that for the paper 1, you can refer from KVS Madan. In Hindi and English, it is available in both. And for paper 2, you can refer to Robert Barron, Morgan and King, and Cicely as your basics. And in Hindi, you can refer to Arun Kumar Singh's book. Okay, in this slide, I'll be explaining you 7 questions, that is 5 multiple choice questions and 2 paragraph based questions from previous year papers, and generally it is from 2018 paper, which will give you an idea about how to get prepared for your exam, and also about us, that how we will be discussing the topics of both the paper with you. So coming to the first MCQ, that is, a variable that measures the effect of a manipulated variable is known as. The answer is definitely dependent variable, because to see the effect every time it is dv, dependent variable, and when we talk about the manipulated variable, the variable which is being manipulated, it is independent variable. Why not B and D? I have said you about A. Now why not B and D? It's because confounding variables are those variables which has an influence on both the variables. That is independent variable and the dependent variable. And about telling you about the controlled variable, it is a variable which may affect the actual relationship. Controlled variables are those variables which are being controlled because they may control the effect of IV and DV, control the actual effect of IV and DV. So it is the correct answer is dependent variable. Coming to second question, that is, empirical research in social sciences is associated with. Before going to its answers, first know about empirical research. Empirical research is a method of research which uses evidences, that is, information is being collected by means of observation or experiences which can be direct or indirect. So the options given here are fictional narratives, positivist philosophy, religious practices, and historical articles. The answer is positivist philosophy, because positivist philosophy is about, here knowledge is gained through properties and relations of natural phenomena, which means information is derived from one's sensory experience, which is totally related with the empirical research. Whereas fictional narratives are those research methods in which information is being collected using the power of imagination, and it is totally artificial. In religious practices and in our historical artifacts, as the name implies, that in religious practices the information is based on the religion, culture and all, and in historical artifacts the information is based on the past events. So the correct answer will be positivist philosophy. Coming to the third part, it is reasoning from a specific case to a general is known as. It is question from logical reasoning. So when we talk about from specific to general, it is inductive. When we talk about from general conclusion to a specific, that is deductive. And scientific logic is based on the rules and the principles of science, and theoretical logic is based on the theory or the theory findings or the concepts related to the theories. So we'll be discussing about the next question, that is match the column. In this you have to list we have a list of two parts, that is personality test and the dimension it covers, and you have to match here about the tests and the dimensions. The first A is about the EPQ, that is Eyes Personality Questionnaire. Second is about the NEO-PI, that is from related to the big five traits. TAT, we all know about the thematic apperception test, and STAI, that is state trait anxiety inventory. So when we see the dimension it covers, EPQ Eyes Personality Questionnaire obviously covers the three dimensions: PEN, psychoticism, extraversion, and neuroticism. So the dimension it covers will be the A. The answer will be A. Second. Second, B will be NEO-PI will be openness to experience, as the big five traits, the O says about the openness to experience. So the answer will be B, fourth. C is TAT. We all know that Henry Murray has given 21 needs, and among them the need for power was one of them. So TAT will be need for power, and the D part will be anxiety as a state, because STAI, that is a state trait anxiety inventory, is being used to treat depressions and all, and in which anxiety is seen as a state of those problems. Now coming to the last MCQ, observational learning involves following processes. Arrange them in the correct sequences: attentional processes, retention process, production processes, and motivational process. First of all, let me tell you, observational learning was being given by Albert Bandura, the modeling theory, and he said that learning involves the five processes, and that five processes were in the sequence of: first was attentional processes, second was about the retention processes, third was about the reproduction or the production processes, fourth was about the motivational processes, and the fifth was about the reinforcement. So the sequence will be A, B, C, D, and as here the options given were only four, so we are going to have this as A, B, C, and D. Now coming to the most important part of a UGC NET examination, that is paragraph based questions, and these are very important. You need to focus on the important concepts, important information given in the paragraph, and all the five questions preceding that paragraph you are going to make it. So here I will be reading this paragraph, and important information will be highlighted and you need to focus on that. A researcher in experimental psychology hypothesized that a particular reward system for fast reactions would improve the reaction time. To verify this hypothesis, he selected 40 subjects in the age range of 25 to 35 years from an organization. Following the standard reaction time experiment, he measured the simple reaction time without the reward system. While taking each trial in the experiment, the time interval between the ready signal and the onset of stimulus was randomly varied between 2 to 5 seconds. In the second part of the experiment, the reward was being introduced and the simple reaction time was measured again for the same subjects. The mean reaction time before the introduction of reward system was 210 milliseconds, and the mean reaction time after the introduction of the reward was 250 milliseconds, and the difference between the means was statistically significant. So here the question is about a hypothesis was being made that says that reward system for fast reaction would improve the reaction time, and the result which is being seen here in the last part of the paragraph, you can see that before introducing the reward, the time taken to learn the material was 210 milliseconds, whereas after introduction of reward was 250 milliseconds, and that was statistically significant. So this is the basic information you keep in your mind, and now we will be focusing on the questions. In the above study, the researcher's hypothesis is, it is directional hypothesis, because here it is being predicted that the direction of the given variable, that is the reward system, will improve the reaction time. Why not correlational or non-directional or null hypothesis? It is because correlation hypothesis tells about the relationship between both the variables. Non-directional is not considered about that. It don't have information about the thing. And about the null hypothesis, there is no relationship between both the variables. So the answer will be directional hypothesis. Second question is, which of the following statistical techniques can be used for evaluating the mean differences? Before explaining or before coming to the point, before coming to the answer, let's know about the four statistical techniques given here. Independent sample t-test. It is used for unrelated groups. But here you have seen the groups are being related. Groups are being related here. Second is paired sample t-test. Paired sample t-test is about also known as dependent sample t-test. It is used to evaluate the mean difference for related variables. Third is Mann-Whitney U-test. Mann-Whitney test is used to compare two samples whether they are derived from the same population or not. And the last option is repeated measures ANOVA. And we all know that ANOVAs are actually used to compare mean scores with each other. So the answer here will be the B and the D, because it is dependent sample test in which we are going to measure the mean differences, evaluate the mean differences because our variables are related to each other, and also ANOVA. Now coming to the next question, we have which one of the following conclusions can be drawn on the basis of the above study? The first is researchers' hypothesis has been accepted, second rejected, or the partially accepted, or the inadequate hypothesis. We have seen in the passage that it has been given that the hypothesis frame for the verification was reward system promotes or reward system fastens the learning process. But the findings were that before introduction of reward, the time taken to learn was 210 million milliseconds. But time taken to learn the material after the introduction of reward was 250 milliseconds. It means the hypothesis has been rejected, and also we have seen that the hypothesis has been rejected and the result which we have found is statistically significant on 0.01 level. So the answer will be the second one, that is hypothesis has been rejected. Now the next question is assertion and reason. In the above study, the 4 periods were randomly varied. Yes, of course, the 4 periods were randomly varied from 2 to 5 seconds. So this is true. And random variation of the 4 periods reduces the false reactions, and this is also true, and obviously the reason for the assertion given. So the answer will be that the 4 periods were randomly varied because it reduces the false reaction. That is answer number 1. Now the last question of this passage is about, in this experiment, reaction time can be labeled as the continuous variable, dependent variable, stimulus variable, and the behavioral variable. To be more clear, let's discuss about the variables so that it will be okay with the labeling process. The first is continuous variable. Continuous variables because it is from 2 to 5 seconds, the reaction time. Obviously, dV as the effect of reward is seen on the reaction time. So, the A part will be true for the reaction time can be labeled as continuous variable. Second is dependent variable. This is also true because we are seeing the effect of reward on reaction time. So, this is okay. And stimulus variable, this is not true because it is not, as we are not exerting any external or any external pressure or control, or neither we are manipulating the reaction time. So stimulus variable, it won't be the answer. And D, behavioral variable. Behavioral variables are obviously those variables which are observable and It is like the response of an organism. And here the reaction time is obviously the response of the organism. So the answer will be A, B and D. One more we are going to discuss a passage question as I have said in the earlier slides also. So here also we have a research question based on research only, paragraph based question, and we are again going to highlight the information which are most important to notice. A researcher wanted to test the hypothesis that a given drug would adversely affect the rate of learning. A group of 40 subjects was employed in the research. Each subject was required to learn a task up to 2 errorless tasks. Then each subject was given a specified drug dosage, and 30 minutes after, the subject was required to learn another equated learning task up to 2 errorless tries. The number of trials required to learn each task followed a normal distribution. The mean number of trials required to learn the task were 24 and 20 only for normal and drugged conditions respectively. The two conditions had compared standard deviations. The mean difference was tested by a suitable statistical test, and the difference was found to be statistically significant at 0.01 level. Again, we are having 2 to 3 informations here that the first is that hypothesis is being framed about a drug would adversely affect the rate of learning, and what we have found the result which is significant, that number of trials required to learn before the drug introduction, before introducing drug, were 24 trials, and after introducing the drug it was only 20 trials, which again says that our hypothesis has been rejected here. So the question that is, what can you conclude about the researcher's hypothesis? Then the answer will be the hypothesis has been rejected. So now coming to the next question, that is, what statistical test appears to be suitable for evaluating mean differences? Here in the last slides only I have discussed about independent sample t-test, that the variables are not related, and here also the variables are being related, so A is not an the option, correct option. Next is one-way ANOVA for independent groups. Again this won't be the answer because it is one-way ANOVA. Obviously measures mean differences, but when it is said independent groups, then it won't be the answer. C, paired sample t-test. Obviously dependent sample t-test will be the answer. And the last is chi-square test. It won't be answered because chi-square is being used to check how a observed variable fits with the expected variables. So this won't be the answer. D won't be the answer. So the correct answer will be C, that is paired sample t-test. Now in the next question we have that dependent variable in this experiment is. We had the question that drug would adversely affect the reaction time. Drug would adversely affect the rate of learning. And when we say rate of learning will be measured with the trials required to learn the material. And here trials required to learn the task was the dependent variable and not the drug dosage, or not the body weight, nor the time interval between the administration and the learning. So the correct answer will be trials required to learn the task, that is the rate of learning. Now the last question is, the above information suggests that parametric model should be followed in data analysis. Non-parametric should be followed in data analysis. The scores under two conditions appear to have homogeneity of variance. And the last is, the scores under two conditions appear to be heterogeneous for variance. In this, it is totally a condition for ANOVA, because here it is the case of two-way ANOVA, as the 40 subjects are being given 2 errorless trials and being subjected to two conditions, that is drug effect and without drug effect. So this is a complete case of two-way ANOVA, where both the groups are being dependent to each other. And the major assumptions of ANOVA is about the homoscedasticity. Homoscedasticity means that the scores under two conditions should appear to have homogeneity of variance. And we have seen that when we have numbers of subjects in less than 30 or less than 30, then non-parametric tests are easy to apply, and after 30 we can use parametric tests. So on the basis of two informations, that on the basis of number of subjects and on the basis of the structure of the whole passage or whole information given, it is the complete case of parametric test, two-way ANOVA. So the first answer will be parametric model should be followed in data analysis. And second will be for the parametric case, for the two-way ANOVA case, we need homogeneity of variance. So the second will be the third answer, that is the scores under two conditions appear to have homogeneity of variance. Thus the answer will be 1 and 3. So this was our introductory video on the complete UGC NET JRF preparation, and there is a line that more you practice, more you'll be able to get into your next level of preparation. And I thank you for visiting here, for attending this video, and for any further queries, please do visit sitekindle.com. Thank you.